Thank you very much. Now we're going to go 2 minutes time. Start with Lori Tobias Cohen from the Congressman's office. 2 minutes, that's it.
These remarks are on behalf of Congressman Adriano Espaillat. We have an affordability crisis in our city. However, the city's plan, which would only create 1,300 affordable apartments, does not begin to do enough for our Upper Manhattan community. With a potential displacement of 6,300 apartments in zip codes 34 and 40 with preferential rents, we need real investments from the city in the creation of affordable housing. That is why I asked the mayor to commit to creating 5,000 new units of affordable housing in Washington Heights and Inwood, with 1,000 such apartments being dedicated to seniors. I have identified over 15 sites that would be prime locations for the creation of 100% affordable housing, sites that would total roughly 3,500 affordable units. These sites would not be MIH-style buildings with 75% of the apartments being market rate. They would be 100% affordable. We need a strong commitment from this administration and the local elected officials to build additional affordable housing to ensure a rezoning will truly benefit current residents. In addition, I have strong opposition to the current plan to upzone the commercial U. This proposed rezoning will likely directly displace dozens of small businesses, from 809 Restaurant to local grocery stores such as Seatown, as developers come in to build predominantly market-rate housing. Businesses will close during construction, and if they're still afloat and want to move back after, the rents will be significantly higher. We need to ensure that the businesses and community members who built up this community are able to stay in this community. And we need new affordable housing so that they can afford to live here, such as working-class families and middle-class families, many of whom stuck it out here during the decades when Washington Heights was synonymous with the city's crack and drug epidemic.
Thank you. Time is up. Thank you very much. Over there, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Robert Joseph from the Municipal Art Society of New York. MAS has been encouraged by the Inwood NYC action plan that frames the rezoning proposal, in particular recommendations for affordable housing at the Inwood Library site, support for tenants' rights, investment in infrastructure, and support of neighborhood businesses through grant programs. However, we are very concerned about the potential for low-income residents to be displaced, the gentrification of retail establishments, and the potential long-term effects future development will have on cultural and natural resources. While Inwood is a hub of Dominican culture today, with shops and restaurants catering to the local Dominican population, incoming residents are unlikely to demand the same retail opportunities. MAS asks that these factors be addressed in the rezoning and evaluated in the EIS, along with specific protection measures to prevent, to the extent practicable, indirect business displacement. We have significant questions about how the rezoning would affect school capacity in the area. With an enrollment of 7,800 students, elementary schools in Community School District 6 are already at 101% capacity. However, according to the draft environmental impact statement, enrollment will decrease to 5,000 by 2032, a drop-off of over 2,700 students in the next 14 years. Although New York City Department of Education enrollment projections indicate that enrollment will fall in the future, further explanation of this projection is needed. While we support the creation of over 100 affordable units at the library site, we would like the city to explore adding more library space to accommodate the large number of new residents that would move into the new neighborhood. The new library would be less than 1,000 square feet larger than the old library, and we're concerned that the new space will not be sufficient to serve the increased population of the neighborhood. In addition, the Inwood area has a potential trove of archaeological resources. In fact, an archaeological study conducted as part of the DEIS revealed that there are 16 projected or potential development sites in the rezoning area that may contain archaeological artifacts. Thank you so much for the
Thank you very much. Your time is perfect. Ms. Baez, and then Mr. Frasca, and then Nilma Baez come up, and Maria Lizardo. Go ahead, Ms. Baez.
Buenas noches. Saludo a todos los que están en esta comunidad. Mi nombre es Nilma Baez. Le quiero mostrar, y creo que este plan que ustedes han puesto aquí, pónganlo ahí para que todos lo vean, está mal diseñado, porque el que hizo esto lo hizo pensando en división de votos, zonificación de votos. no lo hizo pensando en comunidad. Hacer biles de 5.6, 4.0 para poner personas como si fuera un huascal, un rat para poner botella. ¿Sabe por qué se lo estoy diciendo? Porque aquí no hay un plan donde dice que van a poner daycare, más centro de ancianos, un parking municipal, más nosotros los tickets nos están acabando aquí. No, esto no sirve. El que hizo esto no tiene cerebro. Esto necesita un plan bien hecho. Nosotros no necesitamos vivir de alto, nosotros necesitamos más casas y que nos reconstruyan las que tenemos. Esto no sirve.
Thank you.
Tienen que planear con cerebro. Esto necesita mucha reconstrucción. Pónganlo ahí para que ustedes vean que no hay nada de eso. Cuando uno planea, no
Okay.
planea meter gente sin los servicios necesarios.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you. Mr. Fresca, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
The gentrification of Inwood, is not only pushing out low-income families, it is pushing out.
Hold on. Do you want to do it in English? Okay. We'll translate. Go ahead. Sorry.
So the remarks were that this plan, as you see it, is badly designed. Whoever did this was thinking of votes, not community or people. This plan shows details to add daycare, senior center, parks, but it's okay. Okay. We need leadership, and this plan needs much redesigning.
Okay. Thank you.
Parking, okay, parking, I'm sorry. So the remark was about parking, not parks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fresca.
Hello. The gentrification of Inwood is not only pushing out low-income families, it is pushing out anyone who is not rich. I am not among the poorer residents of Inwood.
Quiet, please. Please be quiet. Go ahead, sir.
I am not among the poorer residents of Inwood. I can't talk. What's going on?
Quiet. Quiet. Go ahead. Quiet, please.
I'm trying. what I'm
Quiet.
I'm trying to say that I'm not among the poorer residents. I have a job with a decent income. I'm single, have no dependents, and yet due to the relentless inflationary pressures, I will soon not be able to stay. The increase in my 2017 lease was 3.5%. This year's was 6.5%. The so-called preferential rate has become a joke, especially with the additional charges loaded on through major capital improvements, such as courtyard landscaping. I came to Inwood 12 years ago and became involved with the community as a park volunteer. In that time, the cost of my home has increased 46%, while my salary has increased 5%. As retirement approaches, I have to contemplate sending 50, 60, or 70% of my soon-to-be fixed income to the rental agency. I would like to stay here, but sadly I've begun looking into relocating to the Bronx or the Hudson Valley. Some of those hearing my story will say, well, housing is in demand, so we need more supply. It's the faceless and immutable laws of economics. But then why are there tens of thousands of unoccupied apartments with absentee loaners in New York City? Why is there a glut of luxury housing in Long Island City and the Brooklyn Navy Yard and a shortage of affordable units everywhere else? This is market fetishism. Just as we're told that public education now must be turned into charters run by entrepreneurs and healthcare must be a commodity sold to the highest bidder, housing can only exist if supply meets demand and profit is extracted as a result. Like Israelites celebrating the golden calf, we're told to whirl in ecstasy as we dance around the holy marketplace and praise the corporate commodification of every aspect of our lives.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Luzardo? Thank you. Ms. Luzardo, and then Nilma Baez, Yvonne Stennett, Ms. Perez, and June, looks like Madison and Eli Weiss. Go ahead.
Good evening. I am Maria Lizardo, the Executive Director of Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, NIMIC, and a member of the Northern Manhattan Agenda, the Housing Committee. For the last 39 years, NIMIC has been providing community-based legal services, tenant organizing, and housing development in order to prevent displacement. And here are some of the points that we submitted to the Community Board and to EDC in terms of highlighting some of the housing issues. We're demanding an increase in subsidies to enable many more low-income and very low-income residents to benefit from affordable housing being created or preserved, aiming for the distribution of 30% of units for families who make them less $25,000 per year, 30% AMI, 10% for seniors, 10% for homeless families, and 50% for families making between $25,000 and $89,000 AMI, 30 to 100% AMI. Making all new affordable housing permanently affordable by first funding and supporting the Northern Manhattan Community Land Trust, and second, facilitating partnerships between NMCLT and nonprofit developers to ensure permanent community control and deep affordability. We're also looking to provide, we would want aggressive enforcement and ample resources to support anti-displacement initiatives. This include increased funding and resources for aggressive enforcement of housing, building, fire, health, and safety codes, and of anti-displacement and related laws and regulations to keep landlords from attempting to force or coerce tenants to leave regulated apartments. Increase resources for legal assistance and community organizing to assist more residents in Inwood, Marble Hill, Washington Heights with housing issues. Provide aggressive enforcement of the Certificate of No Harassment program in Inwood, Marble Hill, and Washington Heights. Permit reasonable upzoning as long as it is used to create 100% permanently affordable housing, and ensure new and redeveloped buildings also include sufficient affordable space for many Northern Manhattan community organizations of all types, arts organizations, social service providing, performing arts, that do not currently have adequate space to operate and serve the community.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Next over there. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Diosagnes Perez. I want to start by saying family. How important is family? Family is the center of everything, right? So if we see in this community, how many families here, they have children ready to move out and they don't have a place where to go, like affordable place, where to live. Okay, so what I wanted to say is these children, they're ready to move out, they don't have a place to go, and we as a family need to make sure that we make the right decision for them. So, so we need to really, I think they hear the resonance is an opportunity for them. So we need to make the right decision, approve this rezoning so we can have more affordable housing. And we need to do this for the family, for our children, and as the same for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yvonne Stennett.
Good evening. My name is Yvonne Stennett, Executive Director of Community League of the Heights, and this is Jeremy Coaban, President and CEO of Children's Village. We are here this evening as the proud members of the team that was selected for the New York City, by New York City HPD and the New York Public Library to redevelop the Inwood Library. Our team, consisting of the Community League of the Heights, Olympic Community Development, the Children's Village, and Ranger Properties jointly possess over 200 years of experience and excellence in human service community development and the provision of affordable housing and construction in Hamilton Heights, Washington Heights, Inwood, and throughout New York. Our team enthusiastically responded to the request for proposal to develop the Inwood Library issued by New York City HPD and the New York Public Library with a strong desire and commitment to realize a project that responded to the needs expressed by residents of the Inwood community. We recognize that this project demonstrates the city's commitment to make significant financial and resource investments in the Inwood community, and so we are truly honored to have been chosen to develop the site. Concurrently, we are grateful for the opportunities provided through the proposed Inwood rezoning and the overall Inwood Action Plan. The plan establishes the conditions to create new units of 100% affordable housing utilizing city sites with community facility space to provide much-needed community programming, including early education, childcare, job training, technical, and adult education. The Eliza, the name chosen for the Inwood Library project. Time.
Time. All right, thank you.
We'll make sure that we submit
Great,
it.
thank you very much. I need some. Eli Weiss, Angela Fernandez, Antonio Almonte, Kathy Wakeham, Paul Epstein. Come to the microphones, please. Angela, go ahead. Yep.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Oops. My name is Angela Fernandez, and I'm the Executive Director and Supervising Attorney of the Northern Manhattan Coalition for Immigrant Rights. The Northern Manhattan Coalition for Immigrant Rights is the longest-running immigration-related legal services and education organization in Upper Manhattan. Since its inception over 35 years ago, we've served over 150,000 immigrants. The average person we serve is a working female head of household between the ages of 36 and 65, whose median income is $15,000 to $20,000 a year. The majority are immigrants who were displaced from their countries by economic and political powers greater than their own. Hundreds of thousands of our community's members moved to Inwood seeking stability and agency over their own destinies. As an organization, we have questions about how the Inwood rezoning will allow these women and their family members to continue to maintain stability and agency over their own destinies. It is unfortunate that the timing of the arrival of many of our immigrant neighbors was off by about 4 decades. As cited in the policy brief, when a neighborhood becomes a revolving door for Dominicans, published by the Dominican Studies Institute, New York City's best housing and development policies that responded to the needs of the people were enacted after World War II, at a time when the city truly invested in its working class by implementing regulations such as rent control and other regulations that allowed the working and middle class to live in dignity. A rezoning strategy must prioritize the needs of our working poor, our middle class, our small business owners, the majority of whom are immigrants who have been living here for decades. We do not have to go far into our own history to look at successful policies that should either be strengthened or revived. If we are truly a sanctuary city, then let us apply that concept and ensure that changes in zoning and in development priorities do not, in effect, deport our neighbors from our city.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Almonte, go ahead.
President Brewer, Father Almonte couldn't stay, but he asked me to give
thank
his
you.
statement in his place. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So my name is Brother Anthony Zuba. I'm pastoral associate at Church of the Good Shepherd.
Yep.
And both Father Almonte and I are here as representatives of the Upper Manhattan Interfaith Leaders Coalition.
Thank you.
Our Judeo-Christian tradition provides us the biblical mandate against unfair rent, as it says in the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 11. You trample the poor, stealing their grain through taxes and unfair rent. Therefore, though you build beautiful stone houses, you will never live in them. The Upper Manhattan Interfaith Leaders Coalition has studied both the EDC rezoning plan as well as the alternative plan from Uptown United. And we respectfully express our concern that the EDC rezoning plan in its current form will accelerate rather than mitigate displacement and gentrification. 3 points. We are particularly concerned about the lack of meaningful community engagement in the planning process, and we're concerned about the criteria used to define affordable housing in the city plan. 2, the affordability levels offered through mandatory inclusionary housing are not affordable to the majority of our congregants. Point three, we are also concerned about the lack of a plan for infrastructure improvements to accommodate thousands of new residents in a community already underserved by the decaying infrastructure. So despite the EDC efforts to inform the community, many of our congregants still do not have a clear understanding of the city plan. We're particularly concerned about this because members of our congregations make up over 10,000 residents of Northern Manhattan. And so we recommend 5 points. 1, invest in development of truly affordable housing through additional city subsidies and tax incentives for deeper affordability. 2, protect the existing rent-regulated housing stock.
Time, sir.
Enforcing
Okay.
the rent laws.
Okay.
And we'll submit the rest of our testimony to you. Sorry we couldn't finish this testimony. We're not opposed in principle to development, but we urge you to consider community input.
He cannot. You have to stop right now. That cannot happen again. Why would I mean, you do like he does. But never again can you do that. Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Kathy Wakem, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Wakem from the Metropolitan Council on Housing. I am a native New Yorker and have lived in my rent-stabilized apartment for over 40 years.
Unbelievable.
Northern Manhattan is facing a crisis of increased rents, displacement, and unaffordable neighborhoods that is occurring throughout the city. To prevent this from occurring, I am asking Borough President Gail Brewer to reject the present zoning plan in Community Board 12. The area median income includes Riverdale and Westchester, as well as Northern Manhattan. Therefore, under the mandatory inclusionary housing plan, a so-called affordable unit will be $1,100 to $1,600 per month for a family of 3, requiring an income of $41,000 to $65,000 a year. The maximum amount of affordable units in this plan is 30%, which means 70 to 80% will be market rate and luxury. This will make the neighborhood unaffordable because high-end boutiques will be attracted to the area and thus deleteriously affect households and small businesses. Also, commercial rents will increase. In Northern Manhattan, the average income is $43,000 a year. 50% of tenants in CB12 are rent burdened, according to the Association for Neighborhood Housing and Development. With this real estate change, 9,200 present preferential rent tenants will be impacted, as landlords will be incentivized to seek loopholes to increase their rents by hundreds of dollars. Also, according to the 2018 Rent Guidelines Board, income and affordable...
Time. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next, over here, sir, go ahead, Mr. Epstein, and then Lena Melendez, Valen Ranelli, and Casey Duran. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name is Eli Weiss. I'm a representative from Mad Equities. We are planning and hopefully going to be developing a project in this neighborhood that is 100% affordable. This is my 4th time speaking in front of your community board, and I enjoy my time here. I mostly enjoy seeing how engaged this community is. I've spoken before your full community board, before your housing committee, at the environmental scoping hearing, and I'm just here to reiterate our company's pledge to develop our site as 100% affordable housing, to go beyond MIH, which only requires 25 to 30% affordable, that our project will be 100% affordable housing. And it's something that's easy to say and pledge, but if you've looked at the past rezonings that our company has been involved in the past, we've lived up to our pledge every single time. We've not speculated on the land and sold it. We've not pledged to build affordable and then built market rate. We've built every single rezoning that we initiated or were a part of, and we built it all affordable. I understand that this rezoning is much larger and much broader than our project. And I truly hope that the best outcome for this community comes true because we've made an investment in it, not only in the property, but by partnering with a current resident of the community, Carlos Gomez. And we truly want to see this project come to fruition, be built, be affordable, and be a value add. Our affordable rents go well lower than what have been discussed tonight. And I urge everybody to look at all of the programs on the city's website that have affordable rents for people even as low as 30% of the area median income, which we've committed to build units at those levels as well. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I wish you guys all good luck in this process.
Thank you very much. Over here, sir.
Okay, hello. Thank you. I'm Paul Epstein, an Inwood resident. I've already submitted written testimony to you on many rezoning topics, but I want to focus my time now on how EDC's community engagement has been a total scam. EDC always points to 2 years of engagement they say informed their plan. That's a complete sham. They knew what they wanted long before they made their plans public. Then they released their plans drip by drip, telling us each piece was in response to the community as if each piece was new. But just look at this map from EDC's EIS Consultants' January 2016 proposal. It's clear that EDC already had the West Dykeman upzoning, part of the Upland Core, and the commercial U upzoning in their sites at least 17 months before they showed it to the community. The community response at a community board meeting was unanimously against the Upland Core boundaries and the upzoning of the commercial U, but did they come back to community groups to try to understand our objections and collaborate on a creative compromise?
Is that the one?
No. With no further engagement, 1 month later, they locked in that plan and said that's what's going to ULURP, and that was that. All their talk of community engagement was phony. Instead of making any attempts to collaborate with the community, they approached engagement as a power play. EDC controlled the information flow. The community had to react, then react again, and in the end, the community was not allowed to make any difference that mattered. Giving the community a voice was never the point. It was all a sham. Because EDC totally disrespected the community, you have no choice but to vote no and tell them to come back when they're ready to collaborate with us.
Thank you very much. Lena Melendez. Lena Melendez, Valen. Lena Melendez, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lena Melendez, and I'm a lifetime resident of the area, a member of Dominicanos Pro Defensa, Negocios y Vivienda. We are supposed to believe that what happened in Williamsburg and what happened in Long Island City is not going to happen in Inwood, because that was then and this is now, and that was Bloomberg and this is de Blasio. Well, you know what? If the majority of new apartment units built have the effect of pricing out working class poor folks, it will have a racially segregatory effect. No one wants to talk about or acknowledge that rezoning decimated Black and brown communities. It's illegal to put up a sign that says niggers and spics need not apply. Okay? It's illegal to do that. So now what they have is MIH. Now what they have is affordable housing. That's BS. It's BS. The city has not done an in-depth analysis of how it has displaced minority groups with this very plan. I don't want to talk about infrastructure. I don't want to talk about climate change. And I don't want to talk about traffic jams. I want to talk about the lack of communication between EDC and the Latino community. I want to remind you, folks of the lack of Spanish. I want to remind you, folks, of the lack of Spanish translation in most of EDC's presentations, a convenient way to lock us out of the planning process. And oh, no, this is not your natural gentrification. This is a city and revenue-generated segregatory agenda. People are getting hurt. Tenants are getting pressured to move out.
Thank
30
you.
and 40-year businesses are forced to be closed.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Over here. Thank you. So, Valen Ranelli, thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Valen Ranelli, and I am an Inwood resident and member of several groups in support of the Uptown United platform. Over a lifetime of visiting my mother in this neighborhood, and now living here myself, I have borne witness to the slow but increasingly evident dismemberment of our community. My building has lost many long-term residents and has almost no children. Many occupants are transient, generating vacancy bonuses for the landlord and not participating in the community. This is the gentrification process in action, and now is the time to work to protect our community, not hasten its demise. Under the city's proposal, the majority of development would occur along specified commercial corridors, displacing most of our small businesses. According to Leo Goldberg's 2015 MIT study, this type of rezoning results in the highest levels of displacement of communities of color and people of all races making below $25,000 per year. Furthermore, EDC's assessment of the potential impacts of the rezoning is vastly inadequate. At a recent community board presentation, EDC stated that under numerous categories, findings indicated no or minimal significant adverse impact. We live here every day and have studied this proposal at every step and can assure you that this is simply false. Uptown United's platform aims to create an alternative rezoning process which involves the community and caters to its needs, preserves existing housing, creates truly affordable, community-controlled housing, protects small businesses, and fortifies our infrastructure. Borough President Brewer, we have seen you at so many local community events, so we know we must matter to you. Tonight, we call on you to represent us. Support us and the Uptown United plan, not because it is the politically popular thing or the seemingly winning thing, but because it is the right thing. Vote no to the Inwood NYC rezoning and yes to Uptown United.
Thank you very much. Next over here, thank you. After this, it's Kevin Golden and Peter Sathis, Nancy Bradshaw, and Domingo Hernandez. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Casey Duran. I'm a long resident and also a business owner as well. I'd like to thank Gail Brewer and their staff, District 12, and also Wayne from the Land Use Committee.
Yay, Wayne.
Appreciate it for everything. Now, Gail, I know you mentioned you have two concerns. Two concerns you mentioned is affordable housing and also business owners as well. You ever thought about environmental impact on the community? If you accept 14,000 new residents, it's already congested to begin with. Now, 14,000 new residents, there's only the 1 train and the 8 train. It's already overwhelmed. 14,000 new residents, NYPD will be overwhelmed on calls. Fire department will be overwhelmed. The streets will be overwhelmed of 14,000 new residents. Also, I would like to thank you, IS-218, for Salomon Oreña. I'm an alumni of IS-218. And 20 years ago, a class was 30 students to a teacher. Imagine now, if you add 14,000 new residents, it will be 40 students to a teacher, the ratio. How can students will be allowed to concentrate with 40 students to a teacher? And imagine now it's already congested. So think about the environmental impact and think about the school impact. We need independent studies on the environmental impact. We need independent studies on school impact on the community. That's two things I'm really concerned about in the community if you ask. So I say no to the proposal and actually take a step back and see what the independent impact on these two concerns I have.
Thank you very much. Over here.
My Inwood is built on a hill. Most apartments get good light and air. Excessive building will cast a dark shadow. This is a small neighborhood composed mostly of 6-story buildings. Anonymous large steel and glass buildings will dwarf and change Inwood irreversibly. I do not believe our current infrastructure will support this proposed growth. Our subways and buses are more crowded each year, and any improvements don't seem to come up with the increased ridership. Are our schools and fire departments large enough to accommodate these changes? Traffic on Upper Broadway is often backed up by the Broadway Bridge. Parking is severely limited. To overwhelm a small neighborhood like Inwood with large development will change our neighborhood and not for the better.
Don't forget Nancy Bradshaw, Domingo Hernandez, Marshall Douglas, Nick Linden, just to get started. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Peter Psathis. The proposed zoning is an effective and efficient solution to our city's housing crisis. Inwood's rents have risen faster than any other neighborhood over the last decade, and the 200 new units constructed over that time is not enough to satisfy demand. Existing zoning prohibits any residential housing over large parts of Inwood. Inwood has the equivalent of over 20 football fields of parking lots and warehouses. The mechanic shop on 218 and 10th Avenue has been vacant for over 15 years, and the warehouse behind it for even longer. We have a great opportunity here to create housing and well-paying jobs for Inwood residents. This proposed rezoning is an incredibly efficient way to create permanently affordable housing. Market rate units can subsidize the construction and maintenance of the affordable ones. It is incredibly expensive to build in this city, and failing to allow enough market rate development would discourage residential development from starting in the first place. There is no additional funds for NYCHA, public housing, and the agency in charge of it in Washington is not interested in giving us any more funding. A failure to rezone Inwood would reinforce a near monopoly existing landlords enjoy. Without competition from new development, they can raise rents with impunity. Besides housing, the proposed rezoning creates the opportunity for office space. The existing lack of office space discourages the creation and expansion of local businesses. If an Inwood resident starts a business in their kitchen, they shouldn't have to leave Inwood to expand. The fastest and most efficient way to create affordable housing is to mix it in with market rate units. Nonprofit developers and community land trusts do not have the capacity to meet demand. It is important to keep in mind that we cannot push for more affordable housing and aggressively restrict density. Thank you. People will move to where they want to. Displacement happened in Park Slope, Bushwick, and Astoria without a rezoning. Astoria was not rezoned, and people were displaced. To show for it.
Okay.
Families are doubling up.
Time is up. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Quiet. You got it. Everybody has the opportunity to speak. Everybody no, he got the same time. Same time. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Nick Linden. I've lived in Inwood for 20 years. I'm going to be very brief. I had planned some other comments than what I'm going to say now, but there's nothing for me to add that the borough president and others have not already said. It's clear that this is a crappy plan as presented. Enough said.
Thank you very much, sir. Go ahead.
My name is Marshall Douglas. I'm here for UPA, Uptown Progressive Action. I hope everybody here will indulge me, but we're going to do a little math, okay? Are you ready? According to the borough president's presentation, 60% of the new apartments will go to market rate buyers, people who will pay the highest amount. That leaves 40% of the units for quote-unquote affordable applicants. But these will be awarded by the city's lottery system. As it now stands, half of that 40%, or 20% of the apartments to be built, will be reserved for locals. The other half will be from applicants from all around the city. But that set aside for locals is being challenged in court. If that challenge succeeds, none of the apartments will go to local residents except in competition with applicants from all over the entire city. So the possible outcomes of this plan are 20% of the apartments, according to what Gail Brewer said, 20% of the apartments will be divided between people that they call affordable apartments will be divided between people earning between $40,000 and $100,000 a year. But Inwood's average household income is $41,000 a year. So the affordable apartments begin with half of Inwood's residents excluded from even applying. This proposal will displace Inwood's largely low-income and Hispanic community and replace them with
Time,
wealthy...
sir. Time.
Will replace them with wealthy, largely white outsiders.
Thank you very
Inwood
much.
will not remain a Dominican stronghold.
Thank you very much. Mr. Guerrero, Stephen Ventura, Nathaniel Green. Go right ahead.
Sí, muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es William Guerrero. Yo he sido maestro en la Escuela 98 por más de 24 años. También soy miembro del Frente Amplio. Nosotros nos oponemos al plan de desalojo que el alcalde Bill de Blasio, el concejal y Danis Rodríguez intentan llevar a cabo en la comunidad de Inwood. Este plan, mejor conocido como la rezonificación de Inwood, tendrá consecuencias muy negativas para la comunidad dominicana, mexicana, puertorriqueños, afroamericana y los trabajadores blancos que viven en nuestra vecindad. En los últimos años hemos sido víctimas de un desalojo sistemático e ilegal que los caseros han ejecutado tanto en Inwood como en Washington Heights. Más de 20,000 dominicanas y dominicanas han sido forzadas a mudarse a otras comunidades como el Bronx, Yonkers, New Jersey, Pensilvania y Boston, porque no podían pagar las rentas o los apartamentos en Inwood y en Washington Heights. Ahora, Bill de Blasio, el llamado progresista, y Danis Rodríguez, otro que se llama progresista, y la señora Gail Brewer quieren de nuevo desalojar a miles de dominicanos y dominicanas con la mal llamada rezonificación en Inwood. Este plan traerá nuevos edificios de lujos. Los inversionistas de Wall Street, los ricos, serán los dueños de estos nuevos edificios. Los dominicanas y dominicanas no podrán pagar las nuevas rentas que se cobrarán en los nuevos apartamentos. Y los pequeños negocios de latinos serán desalojados y serán desplazados por las cadenas grandes de negocios. La diversidad de la comunidad se perderá porque gran número de los dominicanos y dominicanas seremos sacados de Inwood. Por todas estas razones, los miembros del Frente Amplio que viven en Inwood se oponen a este plan de desalojo y estamos listos para defender a los dominicanos y dominicanas que viven en Inwood.
Thank you, gracias. Thank you very much. Translation. Thank you. Translation. Thank you, Natalie.
Sir, the name of your organization again, Frente, ¿cómo es? Frente Amplio. Clever. Okay, Mr. Guerrero is a teacher at PS 98. He has been there for 24 years. He is also a member of Frente Amplio. His remarks are about the plan that is put together for the rezoning of Inwood by Mayor Bill de Blasio and Councilman Idanis Rodriguez will have a negative impact on the Dominicans, the Mexicans, and all Latinos in this community. In recent years, 20,000 Dominicans have been forced to move out of Upper Manhattan to the Bronx, to Boston, elsewhere. These so-called progressives, Mr. de Blasio, Idanis Rodriguez, Gail Brewer, seek to displace us yet again. Dominicans cannot afford new rents under the new rezoning plan. Latino businesses will be forced to leave. We will all be forced to leave the community. Okay.
Thank you very much. So Mr. Ventura, Mr. Green, Abel Rodriguez, and Luisa Perez. Anybody, any of those folks here? All right. Nora Lucero, Stuart Davison Tribbs, Aaron Sims. Come on down. Aaron, I see you. I want to thank also Robert Jackson, District Leader, former council member, for being here tonight, District Leader Manny de Los Santos, and Joanna Garcia, who's president of CEC 6. Go right ahead, sir.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Abel Rodríguez. Yo vivo aquí, trabajo aquí, tengo mi oficina en Broadway, 4963 de Broadway. Represento a un centro cooperativo y también a Poder Hispano TV. Pero qué desgracia, ¿verdad? Qué desgracia que esta comunidad que ya de por sí está pasando por una situación muy caótica. El 90% de los pequeños negocios de nosotros está sometido a un asedio, a un chantaje y a una extorsión. Extorsión es una palabra legal, es un delito, pero parece que para la comunidad de nosotros ya eso no es delito. El 99% de nuestros negocios no pueden ir a un banco a tomar un préstamo. Vivimos en una ciudad que está por encima de nuestras posibilidades. Y encima de eso, pues vienen y nos plantean un plan muy bonito, pero es un plan disfrazado, porque los políticos, y vamos a hablar claro, todos los políticos saben que ese plan está inscrito dentro de lo que se llama la gentrificación, que no es más que cuando los ricos necesitan los espacios de los pobres. Con un solo edificio que permitamos que se haga aquí, uno solo, que esté por encima de las posibilidades de la comunidad, será suficiente, porque ese edificio sirve de referente para que toda la renta se eleve. Así que ni un edificio de lujo. Así que no a esa rezonificación. Así que nosotros debemos parar de estar pidiendo limosna. Esta comunidad es de nosotros. Aquí vivimos, aquí viven los hijos de nosotros y no nos vamos para ninguna parte. Así que si vamos a construir, lo vamos a hacer nosotros y para nosotros.
Thank you, thank you.
Así es, mi hermano.
Okay. Mr. Sims,
We don't listen to people like that. We got to respect the community. What happened?
Mr. Sims.
Gail. Just one moment.
Oh, translation, yeah, hold on.
Thank you. Okay. So Mr. Abel Rodriguez, who lives in the community, he has a business, 4963 Broadway. What a disgrace that this community has come to such a chaotic state. 90% of our businesses are being subjected to assault and extortion. Yes, that is the word, extortion. This plan is part of a broader plan of gentrification. Just one building that is beyond the income level of the neighborhood sets a precedent, and the rest of them will come. We need to say no to this rezoning plan. We will not leave. If we are going to have construction, it will be by us and for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron Sims, and I'm a 15-year Inwood resident. I'm also a lifelong artist and the founder and executive producer of Inwood Artworks, a nonprofit with a mission to create and curate professional performing and visual arts in Inwood and its surrounding community. I created Inwood Artworks to champion local film, performing, and visual artists. My vision was to offer Inwood's vibrant artist community an opportunity to showcase their work while also providing a high-quality local and, dare I say, walkable entertainment option to residents. Why? There are no cinemas, performing arts spaces, or galleries in Inwood. I believe our artists and residents deserve one. By repurposing spaces with artistic pop-ups in parks, lecture halls, and neglected storefronts, I've already proven that there is a strong need for an intimate cultural arts center with a 200-seat flexible theater, cinema, and gallery space. If you are unsure of this value of the arts in Inwood, I invite you to review the data from our pop-up gallery last fall, where over 2,400 people attended during 7 weeks of programming. If you need to see it to believe it, I welcome you to visit Culture Hub at 440 West 202 Street on 10th Avenue from June 1st to 30th, because during that time, I will repurpose a dormant nightclub into a daytime pop-up community arts center. It is my greatest hope that you will consider including a dedicated cultural arts center as part of the rezoning or any plan for Inwood, so that local arts groups and residents can exchange the words pop-up for permanent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Who's next? Go ahead. Yep.
Hi, President Brewer. Good to see you again. My name is Stuart Davidson Tribbs. I'm here to represent the Democratic Socialists of America as members of and in solidarity with the Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale Coalition. A lot of what I was going to say has already been said several times, so we need not say it again. But the rezoning plan in its current form poses risks to the well-being of this community, of the people in this room who are clearly opposed to it, as a grinding transfer of wealth out of their hands into the hands of who? They're not here. So why do we care? The discrepancy between the scheduled affordable rents in the plan as it's laid out currently and the median income in the area is enough to make this clear as day. But, is this proposal even being made in good faith at this point? I can't see as it is. There's alternatives to the agenda. Uptown United has laid out a clear and community-oriented alternative to this plan as it exists. It's already been vetted. All of these ideas have been integrated in one central location. It creates truly affordable housing. It works to sustain and nurture the dreams of this community rather than remake those dreams in the image of capitalist land barons. I, in the Bronx Upper Manhattan chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, urge you to vote no on the Inwood NYC plan and to please consider the unified Inwood plan in its stead. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nova Lucero. I'm a community organizer with Met Council on Housing. I'm also the lead organizer on the Northern Manhattan is Not For Sale campaign. I'm going to read some stats from the Coalition Against Tenant Harassment. Over the past 10 years, Inwood and Washington Heights have lost 8.2% of its housing stock compared to 10.5% citywide. 53.1% of households were rent burdened in 2015. From 2005 to 2014, over 5,783 apartments renting at or below $1,000 a month were lost. Every day, almost every day, I am woken up to calls and text messages and emails from friends and tenants I work with who are being harassed for organizing against this rezoning and their landlords. They're being tricked by landlords to get out quick because they have blatantly told them they will get someone with more money after Idanis's rezoning has been passed. Now, I am so glad that we had 3 small business owners be brave and speak out not only against about their concerns about the city's rezoning plan, but their rejection of it. But my colleague Laura and I have been speaking to owners in the past 2 years, and many have expressed concern not only of speaking out against the council members' plan for fear of retaliation and for losing their businesses. For many of them, they even can't afford to leave their businesses for one night. My grandfather was a small business owner in Washington Heights up until 2 years ago. 14 is the number of children and grandchildren that my abuelo supported because of his small business, not to mention providing a home for my mom, my sister, and myself. For that reason, my cousins and I were the first to go to college and graduate. And so yes, small businesses are important, but the jobs they provide are also important because Latinos and Dominicans like my family needed our own networks to support our survival in a way that the city never did. I want everybody to raise your hand if you're against this rezoning plan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Luisa Perez, Maggie Clark, David Nunez, Graham Cerullo, we love Graham, Avi Gerlich, come on up, all of those folks. Go ahead, Maggie, go.
All right. I'm Maggie Clark, a PhD environmental scientist, 40-year resident of Inwood, founder of Inwood Preservation in the Ring Garden. And Inwood Preservation's mission includes preserving that is all good about Inwood. It includes living in a place where you can see the sky and the parks. There are many fatal flaws in the city's terrible plan for us because Inwood is almost surrounded by water and park. With only one through street, it takes very little to cause gridlock here. Just one small development on the Hudson at Dyckman backs traffic up onto the highway. Forget about emergency vehicles getting through. Unified Inwood, with PhDs from Inwood, asked for many environmental studies because adding 15,000 or more new residents, thousands more cars, as well as dozens of huge buildings will not only block the sky, congest the streets, but also make mass transit impossible for local residents and businesses. Is the A train not crowded enough? Do we want to live in canyons like Midtown? The underground infrastructure is ancient and can't withstand the extra load. East of 10th Avenue will be flooded regularly by mid-century, thanks to climate change. But they want to upzone it anyway, instead of installing flood buffers and parkland along the Hudson River. Instead of doing environmental studies like we asked for, EDC blew us off. They don't give a darn about environmental impact. The process is backwards. EDC and the city are pushing the rezoning plan through, and the EIS is an afterthought and meaningless. The fact that they made up their minds about the huge buildings on our commercial streets years ago.
Okay.
See, we recommend that the ULURP for the Inwood rezoning be halted because of the corrupted process. They need to first analyze all the environmental infrastructure and social impacts and then start designing a plan of action, not the other way around. The future of Inwood depends on an honest, good faith, data-based analysis, not preconceived.
Thank you very much, Maggie. Over here. We've been joined by Controller Scott Stringer, right over there. Scott Stringer, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is David Munoz. I am an Inwood resident, and I am member of 32BJ, the largest property service union in the country. Our union fights for racial, climate, and economic justice in our communities, and we represent nearly 2,000 members in Inwood alone. 32BJ believes that responsible development with affordable housing and good jobs will allow neighborhoods like Inwood to remain a diverse place to working people to continue calling home. Several local property owners have committed to providing good jobs, their future development site. The prevailing wages include family sustenance wages and benefits, and its mirror 32BJ industry standard. We applaud those owners for working to ensure that this reasoning benefits the community as much as possible. For this reason, we hope the Board of Presidents will support responsible development with good jobs and affordable housing in Inwood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz, very much. Graham?
Yes, thank you. And thank you to everybody who's hung in here tonight. My name is Graham Storello. I've been working with Northern Manhattan. It's not for sale. I'm an Inwood resident. My testimony was very different when I woke up this morning, but then I read today's Daily News, which outlines the de Blasio's meetings with James Capolino and his clients. $100,000 was paid to Mayor de Blasio to meet in the basement of a restaurant with 10 real estate developers. Okay? Capolino operates in our neighborhood. One of their representatives was here tonight. Taconic hires them. Taconic owns the plot where the Associated is. Okay, they are creating fake community coalitions in our neighborhood, tricking residents into supporting the rezoning. We have to stand up. This plan is immoral. It's born out of corruption, just like the whole plan, the whole de Blasio housing agenda. We have an obligation to oppose it. No rezoning at all may be a bad thing. Maybe it will lead to gentrification. Luckily, we provided an alternative, the Uptown United plan, and we ask that you support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Gerlich, and then Lucia Alcantara and Tiffany Lee. Go ahead, thank you.
Good evening, Madam President. My name is Avi Gerlich. I'm a resident of Washington Heights of 8 years and a member of Faith in New York. As a great-grandson of Jewish immigrants, I can attest that the Jewish community here in New York as immigrants were supported in building economic and political power and attaining a flourishing. And we want the Dominican community and other immigrants uptown to be afforded the same opportunities.
Thank you.
I also would like to say, building on Graham's point about corruption and the earlier testimony from Mad Equities, I urge people to do research about these groups and the sister company to Mad called Joy Construction. Look them up. They have a spotty record, worker deaths, non-union subcontractors, not the type of people I think we want in this community. In order to avoid that type of stuff, we need to prioritize community-controlled land. That means give community land trusts control of properties so that we can have the power over how the work is done and what is prioritized. Don't let strangers come in with profit-based motives, cut corners, bring death and decay to our community. Keep it local. To sum up, don't support the EDC's plan. It's full of problems. Support the Uptown United alternative.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for hosting this evening's hearing. I'm Lucia Alcantara, President and founder of Futures Today Consulting. We're a small nonprofit consulting firm. In addition to being a small business owner, I'm also an uptown girl. My family came to Washington Heights. We've been in the area since 1960. And I went to PS 128, the little pink and blue school on the corner of St. Nick and 165. And the neighborhoods are changing. And I welcome the change, especially when it's for the better. What doesn't cease to amaze me, though, is that I can't afford to return to the community of my childhood neighborhood. The luxury condo on West 167th Street and Edgecombe Avenue is well beyond my reach, and I'm self-employed and make an okay living. That piece of Washington Heights now looks like West Harlem, which looks like Williamsburg, which is starting to look like everywhere else. We don't want Inwood to look like everywhere else. The cookie-cutter approach to community development doesn't work for Inwood. The community has unique characteristics that are worth preserving. It is critical that we not only preserve existing businesses, but rather that the city increase its investment in economic equity through small business loans, grants, and funding. How about some open Wi-Fi throughout the area, like we have in more affluent communities like in Chelsea and the Upper West Side? The 2 to 3 training sessions done by the small business services is not enough. Where is the investment in business development that
Thank you.
internships?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Tiffany Lee, Arilis Guzman, and then the controller. Go ahead.
My name is Tiffany Lee, and I'm Executive Director of Altagracia Faith and Justice Works, a Catholic community-based nonprofit. I'm also an Inwood resident. First, I would like to echo concerns about affordability levels of the new housing, the importance of meaningful community engagement, and concern about displacement of longtime residents. I echo others' concerns about infrastructure, the environment, and impact on small businesses. I defer to those more expert than I am to elaborate on these points in their testimonies. To all of these points, I endorse the Uptown United platform and encourage you to vote no to the EDC's plan and suggest the Uptown United platform as a viable alternative. But what I'd really like to say is that tonight I'm hopeful, grateful for how this community has organized and united to form a shared community vision, and also aware of how precarious that reality is, depending on your vote and others throughout the ULURP process. I'm also reminded of the parable of the wise and foolish builders in the Gospel of Matthew that tells of the wise man who built his house upon rock, and it withstood the rain, floods, and wind. and the foolish builder who built a house upon the sand, which collapsed when the storm came. Setting aside the literal connection of the parable to the rezoning plan, which also ignores flood zones, this is an apt metaphor for us today. Our community is the rock upon which this plan needs to be built. The EDC's plan is the house built upon the sand. It may look nice, but without the solid foundation of a community, part of the literal construction of the plan, it will fall. We hope you'll join us in being part of that foundation to plan wisely and withstand the elements together for many years to come. To close, French Catholic activist Madeleine Delbrel said, quote, "We, the ordinary people of the streets, believe with all our might that this street, this world, where God has placed us, is our place of holiness. Madam President, Northern Manhattan is more than an investment property or a site for development and profit. It is a community. Help us maintain our place of holiness in Northern Manhattan."
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Buenas noches y gracias por estar aquí apoyándonos. Estoy representando también a la iglesia de San Judas. Estoy aquí desde 1980 y mi familia vinieron en los 70 y no nos queremos ir de este vecindario. Entonces, ¿qué pasa? Parece que de todos los Estados Unidos han descubierto el gran potencial que tiene Inwood, mencionando los trenes, los autobuses, los parques, los hospitales, las facilidades para los supermercados, las escuelas. Encima de todo eso, estamos a media hora del centro de la capital del mundo. Todo el mundo se ha interesado en querer venir a vivir para nuestro vecindario. ¿Por qué quieren desplazarnos? ¿Por qué de otros estados lejísimos de los Estados Unidos? Yo trabajo en la escuela y sé que han venido de muchísimos estados de los Estados Unidos a querer vivir aquí en Inwood y en Washington Heights. Y como mencionó nuestra compañera ahorita, se están haciendo unos edificios que no están a nuestro nivel, ni siquiera como cooperativa, porque un cuarto de dormir cuesta $750,000. ¿Es eso para nosotros? No, es para las personas que vengan con un sueldo bien alto. Entonces, otra cosa que está pasando es que no sé qué acuerdo tiene Di Blasio con la ciudad. Le están proveyendo Section 8 a muchísimas personas que viven aquí fácilmente, cuando eso antes era difícil de conseguir, y la están mandando para otros sitios, para Albany, para Brooklyn, lejísimo. A mi mamá le hicieron eso y dijo, si me llevan para Brooklyn, me voy a morir. Aquí me quedo y de aquí no nos vamos.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Natalie's going to translate.
Good evening. I represent the Church of San Judas. I have been here since 1980. My family came in the 70s. My family and I don't want to leave. It would seem that the rest of the United States have discovered Inwood. Our transportation system, our shops, we are a 20-minute subway ride from the center of the capital of the world. I work in a school, and I can tell you that they are moving here from all different states. The plan for the housing that they have, a one-bedroom, costs $750,000. That is not for us. I do not know what arrangement Mr. de Blasio has with Section 8, but they are giving Section 8 to people and having them leave New York, go to Albany or Brooklyn, and I have said that I am not leaving. I won't leave this community.
Thank you very much. Controller, would you like to say a few words?
I want to thank the borough president for holding this hearing, and I'm here tonight, yes, as controller, but I was born and raised in Washington Heights. I grew up on Bogarta's Place. I went to PS 152. I went to junior high school 52, and through it all, this was always a neighborhood where people came and lived from all over the world because it was affordable, it was good for families, and it was a community that always supported the local small businesses, because that's what we were, small businesses. And now, as controller, as I've traveled the city, these rezonings basically mean that we allow developers to build bigger density, taller buildings, and they want to do that. And what we've said to them is, if you build smaller, taller buildings, you're going to have to give us affordable housing. The problem is, and this is based on our analysis in our office, the affordable housing is not affordable for the people in these communities. And that's a fact. And you can't get away from the notion that if we build these 30-story luxury buildings, we are going to evict the people who built Washington Heights and Inwood. And that is just, unfortunately, where we are today. There's a better way to build affordable housing. It's the way LaGuardia did it with NYCHA. It's the way the Milchilama housing stock was built. We have 1,150 vacant properties in this city that taxpayers own. Give that land back to the people and build the next Milchilama housing program, and do it now. That's what we should be doing. And I also want to say to everyone in Washington Heights and Inwood, this is how you're made, and that you are on the right side of history. And I just want you to know that throughout the city, from East New York to the Bronx to El Barrio, this is playing out in every single community. It's no longer to one neighborhood. It is a citywide issue. If you look at the vacant stores, as Gail has documented, this is going to happen citywide if we don't rethink how we're building our land, how we're building the next generation of housing. And I respectfully say to all of you, there is a citywide coalition that is forming. You are the leaders of it. And I was coming back from the Bronx tonight. I have no paper. I'm not sending out a press release. But I was passing the neighborhood, and I said, if I don't get into this meeting tonight and say something, then there's something wrong with me. Thank you and good night. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ava Farkas, Shernane Mondesiri, Phil Simpson, Leah Holtzel, Carla Cruz. Ava, where are you here? Yes, there you are. Shara Me is the other, or Phil Simpson, if, just get Leah Holtzel. Ava, go ahead.
Okay. I'll go.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Ava Farkas. I'm the Executive Director of the Met Council on Housing. It's great to see everybody here tonight. Thank you, Borough President Gail Brewer. So this plan, this rezoning, is being sold to us as an affordable housing plan, but unless it truly meets that criteria, it must be stopped. Our criteria as the community, our definition of affordable housing, is that it must be 100% affordable to the range of income levels present in Inwood and Washington Heights, with 50% of newly constructed housing going to folks making below the neighborhood median income, which is $43,000 a year. And a third of Inwood residents make less than $25,000 a year. So a bulk of the new affordable housing must be very low income and extremely low income housing. It's great, we've heard developers talking like Mad Equities about promising to do 100% affordable housing, but unless there is a binding commitment from them, these are only words. They can turn around and flip the property like so many others have done before. Once the zoning is changed, there is no going back. There are no further concessions the city can get. The time to get enforceable commitments from the city and developers is now. Sadly, other neighborhoods have fallen short in getting truly affordable housing. In East Harlem, the borough president asked for 50% of apartments to be affordable to low-income families, but the city did not deliver. And they did not deliver in the Bronx either on the Jerome Avenue rezoning. So let's call a spade a spade. This is a bad rezoning. And as you said, a bad rezoning equals gentrification. Vote no.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Mondesir. I'm a 43-year resident of Inwood. I attended the CB12 Land Use Committee meeting where the Inwood Library Plan was presented by HPD and their team. The process is being rushed because of an artificially imposed timeline and purpose. Instead of creating what could be an asset to the community, rushing this large-scale project through has greater potential of becoming a fiasco, or, as our Congressman Adriano Espaillat dubbed it, a Trojan horse. The library project deserves its own ULURP. It should not be treated as an incidental byproduct of the Inwood rezoning. Referring to it as the renewal of the Inwood Library is very misleading as to the scope of the project. It will consist of a library, affordable housing, and a pre-K, all with their own characteristics, needs, and entrances. Also, within the space, there will be a myriad of community programs competing for usage. When CB12 members critiqued the certain aspects of the structure and the plan that were incongruent with the neighborhood's character, the architect alluded to the fact that they had done the best they could in the time allotted. This is no way to execute a plan that will have such a tremendous impact on our community. I urge you to vote no for the plan and to support the Inwood Uptown platform.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good evening, and thank you, Borough President Brewer. My name is Philip Simpson. I'm going to speak about the library proposal. Thank you, Ava. 15 months ago, I asked Councilmember Rodriguez, I don't remember, see if he's still here, I asked him point blank if he could guarantee that the community would not lose any library services if this library proposal went forward. Our council member, your council member, did not answer the question. And today that question still has not been answered. NYPL says they would have so-called core services, checking out books, signing up for computers, speaking with a librarian. But 15 months after this proposal was announced, they also said they don't have a location, they don't have a budget. I'll come back to budget. They said that the many other important services that people in this community use at the library, they're going to scatter some of them around the community. They don't know which, and they don't know where. This is not a plan, it's not even a promise, and it's certainly not something that the people of this community can rely on not to be deprived of a real library for 5 or more years. They said there was not a budget, so let's think about a budget. At the low end, you've heard from many business owners here, they'll tell you rent in Inwood is about $50 a square foot a year. The library is 17,000 square feet. To replace that, you're talking about rent alone over $800,000 a year. 5 years, that's over $4 million in rent. But they don't have a budget. Do you think that they're going to spend $4 million on an interim library? I don't think there's anybody in this room that thinks that, or that could trust them to deliver on that. It's not sound policy to trust them, not when they don't have a plan, a location, a budget, and they'd have to spend real money to deliver.
Time.
Vote no.
Thank you very much. So Leah Holtzel, Carla Cruz, Bennett, Mauza, and Catherine O'Sullivan. Go ahead. Nancy, speak.
Yeah, I'm speaking for Leah. She asked me to take her
great.
place. So I'm
Thank
Nancy
you.
Preston. I'm a 17-year resident of Inwood, a community advocate and activist, and a member of too many CBOs to list. You may also know me as a yoga teacher for Bread and Yoga, and that's one of our beloved local small businesses that are at risk of displacement. The Inwood rezoning plan is deeply flawed. It's top-down, and it should be bottom-up. After being dumped on and disinvested for decades, the city wants to invest in Inwood, but at a price that is exploitive. The design and scale of the rezoning will result in displacement of residents and businesses. Public assets will be given away, and landowners will see the value of their property appreciate exponentially, incentivizing tear-downs and flipping. People must come before profit. Inwood has absorbed more than its fair share of housing the sanitation garage, the bus depot, the Time Warner Spectrum, parking, the rail yards, Con Ed. Now's the time to give back some of that land for 100% permanent Inwood affordable housing. That's contextual, and also include the much-needed community space we lack. There's a great opportunity to right the wrongs done to Inwood. An ethical and practical long-term plan that will benefit the people must be put in place. This is all put forth in the Uptown United platform. This is the plan that I ask you to support, Madam Borough President. What is the role of our government but to be visionary and to be humane? It can be done, it will be remembered, and I ask that you find the political will to save Inwood and say no to the EDC plan and yes to the Uptown United plan.
Thank you very much. Carla Cruz, Bennett, Melza, Catherine O'Sullivan, Candida Uriga, Victor De Leon from the bike shop, Alexis Stern. Any of those folks here, go right ahead.
Hello, my name is Bennett Melzak. I'm a lifelong Inwood resident and a clinical social worker. I'm from New York, and we are pretty much used to people being scammed. And I don't know how anyone can talk about affordable housing when the political establishment is not protecting rent-stabilized and rent-controlled apartments. I'm in a rent-controlled apartment that's over $2,000 at this point. Basically, support the Uptown United plan, have a separate ULIRP for Inwood Library, and if Marisol Alcantara is here or any of her representatives, I'm calling you out on a really nasty attack on Robert Jackson, which is just really disgusting. Thank you.
Thank you. Over here.
Yes, my name is Victor De Leon from Victor Bicycle Repair in New York. I have 22 years in business in New York and a small business. When he revealed that at Washington High, the Washington Bridge, he promised to the people that he's going to give you small space for the small business. Right now, in this location, we have the big business right now. All the business around is going up the rents. My lease is expired in 2 more years. I got a 22 year in that business. My first lease is in 6 years. When I renew the lease, I give you under the table some money to the landlord to give you 10 years. Right now in 2020, my lease is expired. I can't survive in these neighborhoods. It what happened with the Galicia restaurants. He had the lease about his expired. He paid about $10,000. Right now, the rent is go $30,000. We can't survive in the neighborhoods. I work for 2 jobs in this country. I work for 34 years in Mount Sinai Hospital. I am Central Supply Techniques. You know, I keep the two jobs to keep my business and to keep my families. I hope to vote no for survivor here in New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. Buonasera. My name is Catherine O'Sullivan. I'm an immigrant. To preserve Inwood's affordable housing and diverse population, I ask you to support the Uptown United platform and reject the EDC Inwood rezoning plan. These city rezonings are for the benefit of developers and real estate speculators. We need real urban planning to preserve the cultural and historic legacy and physical fabric of this great city. I use our award-winning Inwood Library for books to read to the first grade students in Amistad School. I also use the library as a cooler center in the summer. After the third HPD NYPL library charrettes last year, not one person at Amistad School was aware of the plans to demolish our library. There was no outreach to local schools, whose students will be most affected. Although the library was built in 1952, our library, designed by William Gabriel Takao before World War II, blends well with Inwood's Art Deco buildings. The Inwood Library proposal, as a conveyance of public land, qualifies for an independent ULURP. It is too important a decision to be buried in the larger Inwood rezoning. Give our library the attention it deserves. If the RFP for the library stated that a zoning of R8 should be assumed, why are we here? How is the rezoning in any way democratic if a predetermined outcome is already assumed? The greenest building is the one that already exists. Reject the EDC plan.
Thank you very much.
Build the library elsewhere.
Thank you very much. Next, go right ahead. And then Manny de los Santos, District Leader, and then Gene Ruskin. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Alexis Stern. I've lived in Inwood for 21 years, and before that, Washington Heights. I wanted, since people have spoken eloquently, Idanis, can you stay for 1 second, please? Idanis, can you stay for 1 second? I just wanted to take this opportunity to say to you, we fought together at City College to save a free and quality education. We did not fight for private universities to give promises to a small percentage of people to get an education. We need leaders that are going to be strong now and not compromise. You know this plan is a lie. It's a short gap solution. It is not a long-term solution for this neighborhood, and it's only going to lead to more displacement. I know that you do work for tenants, and we need more of that. We need to roll back rents. We need people fighting for that. We don't need private developers doing anything because education is a right. We used to say that. And housing is also a right. So we need only not affordable housing, but low-income housing in this neighborhood. So I just want you to remember where you came from.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Manny, is Manny still here? Manny, Gene Ruskin, Zoya Kosur, and Jeannie Dubundu.
Cándida.
Go ahead.
Mi nombre es Cándida Uraga. Tengo viviendo 25 años en Inwood Community y realmente no queremos rezonificación, ya lo han escuchado de muchos otros compañeros. No es para nuestra comunidad, ya que somos low income y eso no lo están realmente tomando en cuenta. Queremos que vote no a la rezonificación definitivamente y acepte el plan Uptown United, que realmente se apega más a nuestras necesidades como comunidad de Inwood. Gracias.
Okay, Ms. Aurora has been living in this community for 19 years. We don't want the rezoning plan, as you've been able to hear. Our community is low income. We urge you to support the Uptown United plan that is more in line with our needs as a community.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead over here.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jeannie Dubnow. I'm with RENA, Riverside Edgecombe Neighborhood Association, Met Council, and North Manhattan is not for sale. So I'm changing my testimony. I was going to say something different. But tonight I see that our Manhattan Borough President is really listening to us. She's allowing us to speak. She put people up on the panel who really represented the community. Gail Brewer, I do believe you believe in democracy. If you do truly believe in democracy, you see what the community is telling you, 100% against this plan of the EDC. Now, I just want to speak to some of the points that people from HPD, people from the EDC, and even yourself in your letter to the EDC where you express your concerns. You express your concerns, however, the proposals that are set up to try to help businesses and to help tenants are pathetic and will not work at all. Just as an example, one proposal is establishing a business incubator. You know what that is? That's a business that then advises businesses. Do our little businesses need advice? They know damn well that they're going to be displaced. So paying another business incubator is not going to help. An enhanced commercial corridor that supposedly helped the Upper West Side. The Upper West Side is full of closed businesses. I go to the Upper West Side all the time. Those businesses are closing. Why not support the Small Business Job Survival Act that you did support a long time ago, which actually Idanis Rodriguez, thank you if you're still here, did bring this up to the City Council, and that's the only thing that would even help. That's not mentioned.
Thank you. Time is up. Okay. Thank you very much.
One last thing. HPD is not to be trusted. 21 or Arden Street. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
21 Arden. Thank you.
Thank you. Over here.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity for the community to speak tonight. My name is Zoya Koser. I've lived in Inwood for 23 years. I'd like to outline 5 reasons to vote no on the proposed Inwood NYC plan. Number 1, gentrification. The plan is a textbook recipe for gentrification of the last affordable neighborhood in Manhattan. The rationale offered for the rezoning is affordable housing, which is a ruse for the opposite. That is, a large-scale displacement of low and middle income, mostly Latino residents, as well as local small businesses. How can large-scale development with 80% market rate apartments and 20% of units that are not actually affordable with this community's income levels be considered acceptable, let alone desirable, to anyone except real estate developers and politicians whose campaigns are heavily funded by them? Point number 2, environment. As demonstrated in the draft EIS, the city has repeatedly declined to address the real and inevitable negative environmental impacts of this plan. Number 3, displacement. The city dramatically underestimates the number of current residents who will be displaced and priced out. Number 4, overdevelopment. The EDC is lowballing how much development is likely to occur, claiming rezoning will produce only a fraction of what is permitted, despite clear examples of rapid development in other recently rezoned neighborhoods. 5, top-down planning. This is my final point. There's been a consistent lack of transparency on the part of the city as to what it plans to do, including plans for the Inwood Library. This plan has not been approved yet we've been introduced to the architects twice. Plans to develop Inwood's 44-acre MTA rail yards, excluded from the EDC plan, pitched to Chinese investors by Idanis Rodriguez as an uptown version of Hudson Yards. And 3rd, the set-aside of land at the northern tip of Manhattan for an expansion of Columbia's hospital, except the hospital has stated it has no plans to expand. This area could be developed with truly affordable housing.
Thank you very much.
Inwood deserves better.
Thank you. Thank you. Jean Ruskin, Jacqueline Merrill, Panos Koutris, Lauren Delgado, Flory Charles, Joanna Garcia, and Luis Tejada. Just to go ahead, whoever's there.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Ruskin, Inwood resident of 37 years. We're at a critical juncture in so many ways, not just in our neighborhood of Inwood, but nationally and internationally. I want to thank Gail Brewer and all of you in this wonderful community who are here tonight, hopefully on the side of history, as Scott Stringer said. I believe that the issues we face, even up here, mirror those of global significance: immigration, education, economic inequality, the environment, joblessness, a housing crisis. I also believe the way in which we move toward addressing these things will determine how well we arrive at solutions. It is so important that we not lose our basic integrity and purpose as a nation of immigrants, as a community still made strong because we come together from so many different perspectives. We need to embrace one another in the spirit of this great experiment called New York, which proclaims at the very feet of the lady in the harbor, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." It is not a cry to sell the land to the highest bidder. Let us stand together to resist that force and to determine our own future here, not from the top down, but from the grassroots up. Let us be united uptown. And I want to end with just a few lines from Salome Ureña de Enriquez, from her poem En Defensa de la Sociedad. This is in English. I hope the translation is good. Not everything is vice and confusion and horrors in the social tumult. Beyond this veil of sin and error, genius leaves its trace of light and the eternal way of praising the good and lauding virtue. And this is man's sublime mission, to put the dense shadows of error to flight, to bear the light of reason and truth.
Time. Thank you very much.
Ignorance.
Thank you.
Howls in gloom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joanna?
Good evening. My name is Joanna Garcia. First of all, I want to thank everyone, definitely the ones that are in this room still at this time, are the diehard for affordable housing. So thank you for still being here. I am the president of CEC 6, and I'm also the president of Uptown Community Democrats and a member of the wonderful organized North of Manhattan is Not for Sale Coalition. I'm here to tell you a little bit about who I represent today. I represent the thousands and thousands of families who send their children to public schools every day. These children, they leave their overcrowded homes. They live in a state where they not sure when their next meal will be. And they go to an overcrowded classroom in a school that has been historically underfunded and dilapidated and neglected for years. Historically speaking, we have been a community that has been shortchanged by the state and the city. But at the same time, historically speaking, we have been a community that has come together, organized, and given rise to our voice. And today I tell you that the average utilization rate of our schools is 105%. That means that virtually every child in our schools is in overcrowded classrooms. The projection of 14,000 individuals in North of Manhattan under the rezoning plan is lowball. It's disingenuous because it's actually closer to 17,000. Think of the many, many students that will come and further put a burden in our infrastructure. Never mind the plan for the library, which also has been disingenuous. The library plan has been proposed to families, and they've actually come to present to parents as a carrot stick. To get to the UPK program, to get to the center, to get to all the resources in that wonderful new library that they're proposing, you have to say yes to a library plan. You have to the Inwood rezoning plan. You have to decouple the two plans because we deserve to analyze both separately. Again, please support the United Inwood plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Jacqueline Merrill, Pioneer Scutres, go right ahead. Shh, quiet, because we want to hear the speakers. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Panos Koutris. I'm a member of 32BJ ACIU,
and I'm here with the signatures from 800 Inwood residents who support responsible development that comes with real affordable housing and good jobs. These residents all agree that our community deserves to have a say in what gets built in Inwood, and these 800 residents believe that Councilmember Rodriguez and the Borough President Brewer should only support a rezoning in Inwood that includes good job, real affordable housing, and community participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Go ahead. Shh. We want to hear the speaker.
My name is Lauren Delgado. I reside in Dykeman. I've been residing in Dykeman for the past 5 years. I've lived in the Lower East Side, and I grew up on 71st Street between Lexington and Park. I know very well how Manhattan real estate goes, public education, and exactly how this meeting is going. It's portrayed like our votes will make a difference when it's not. This library plan was already sold underneath us, and it was wrong. I'm here to tell you that the community's not here because they're immigrants. You know they're immigrants. You know they're scared to come here. Look at Trump. They didn't vote for him. They would fill up this auditorium 3 times alone. Just one public school in the area of Dykeman. One. Why don't they come? Because they would outnumber the wealthy people that are buying up the land that they're fighting for. They're fighting for that because education is the only key to be able to fight what's going on here. This is a chess game, and we do have a chance. We are here to say that we are not giving up the library. You will not take the library from the children that are depending on it, that tomorrow they're waking up for a state exam that requires their school to have funding. These schools are bilingual. Every child deserves to be bilingual. Where do you think they get the services at? This public library that you are going to dismiss for years. What's going to happen to that generation? A lot of you don't really understand because your children don't go to that school. My children go to that school. I've transferred my children in the 5 years that I've been to Dykeman to 3 different public schools. Each school having an issue with funding with these state exams. So now you're closing the library. What are these families going to do? They're not here to speak out of fear. It's only out of fear, and it's not fair what you're doing. So I'm here to let you know that just because they're not coming in fear doesn't mean we're not giving up a fight. No, we're not fighting with violence. We're fighting with knowledge. And one way or another, you will not take our library from us. Bottom line, deal with it. You have a pen and paper, rewrite it. Death is the only thing that's unfixable, and what you are doing is committing death on their hopes and dreams. It's unfair, it's selfish, and we all know it's about money.
Thank you very much. Time is up. Thank you. All right. Anybody here? So Jacqueline Merrill, Flory Charles, Luis, go ahead. Grajada.
Thank you, Gail, for the opportunity to this community to talk about the rezoning or against the rezoning in the way that the mayor tried to pass and also Danis Rodriguez. So I just want to bring up some words that always she said that she's a progressive woman from the 80s, that she was the most progressive city council in the city hall when she was a city council, and I think and I hope that you continue with the progressive thought in order to benefit the community. So I don't want that to happen, the same that happened when Scott Stringer, he left already, when he was borough president, and regarding to the 197C plan that passed in favor of Columbia University and displaced most of the small business jobs in West Harlem. That happened in 2006. I just want that you continue to be progressive and the side of the community. And also, I just want to give you an example, because I don't want to go over what the people say, because I'm agree that we have a very, very progressive affordable housing for this community, because the land belongs to this community according to the MI that we have here in this community. So, but something that is happening right now, and I think is that we have a tenant from 921 Sherman Avenue, is a building just across the street of Sherman Plaza with the parking lot. They tried to build the Sherman Plaza. That building is being used by the landlord, also helped by the HPD. They're offering a plan to rebuild the building and bring about the community, the tenants 4 years later after they renew the whole building. So you know what happened? in the 3 or 4 years later, that these people, if they don't have a Section 8, they don't qualify because they're going to pay a rent market after they renew the building. So now that 92 family are fighting back this plan from the city.
Thank you very much. Time.
All right,
Okay,
I'm
thank
going to
you.
share you with this. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Manhattan is not for sale.
Thank you.
Manhattan is not for sale.
Scarbett from St. Jude Church, David Tom, Miguel Pena, Jennifer Bristol, Neymama Silver, Maria Dominguez. Come on down, whoever. And Chris Nickel.
Yes, yes, my name is Tirso. 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 Tirso.
Jennifer Bristol. Jennifer Bristol. Jennifer Bristol. Go ahead. Go. What happened to the mic? Oh, Jesus.
Hi there. My name is Jennifer Bristol. Thank you so much for hosting this hearing here in this part of Inwood. That's what I want to talk about. I've been coming to meetings, and the southern part of Inwood, south of Dykeman, north of Hillside, has been left out of the equation. And I know that the EDC went back and included west of Broadway because there was discussion that that was vulnerable, and they wanted the character to stay that way. Well, this section is very vulnerable, and no one's talking about that, and that hasn't been studied in the impact study. No one's been talking about that much. I think, Gail, you've mentioned it in the past, but no one's mentioned it tonight, so that's all I wanted to do is bring it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Naima Silver. I have been living here for pretty much my entire life. I agree with pretty much what the rest of the community has had to say, so I want to propose something different. I want us to consider that, number one, we're aware that rezoning will have long-term effects on the community, right? So why are we rushing through this process? That's number one. I would like to propose that you vote no. Number two, that a moratorium is established for maybe 5 or 6 years, that we take the time to analyze how rezoning has impacted other communities around the city, and that we see after gathering the data if the rezoning has actually delivered on the different aspects that it said that it was going to do in those communities. And so if that has been the case, then after that moratorium, 5 or 6 years, we can open it up again so that a new proposal would have to be done from scratch, taking into consideration the over 65% majority of the community that was not included in the very beginning of the process, which is the Spanish-speaking Latino community. And I know that because I attended many of the meetings in 2015 and 2016. There were no translators like they have now. The material was always in English. So ultimately, how about we vote no, establish a moratorium, analyze how rezoning has impacted other communities, and then we see if this is going to be best for us. Because since it will have long-term effects, we should not be doing short-term things. We should take our time with this and really analyze it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead, David.
Hi, my name is Dave Tom. I speak tonight on behalf of the Inwood Owners Coalition. So this must be the 5th or 6th or 20th time that a room full of people has given very strong, constructive input on what the city proposes to do to our neighborhood, only to find out afterward that nothing changes. The city never modifies their proposal. We just move from packed room to packed room and we repeat ourselves. And for those of us old enough to remember records, it feels like a broken record. So here we go again. Simply put, the proposed rezoning is far too aggressive. It needlessly ramps up building size and density while offering very little to those who already live here, whether it be affordability, small business help, or quality of life. A modified plan with less aggressive zoning could accomplish many of the stated goals without causing so many problems. And it could also throw in some new infrastructure, a community center, or police precinct to help accommodate the new and existing population, which I'll point out, through the change in the zoning map, enables up to 46,000 people although the city projects that it will be only 14,000 people. But no matter what we say, the city doesn't modify their plan. It hasn't changed since it was released, despite the very cheerful talk about hearing us. And believe me, we've tried to suggest alternatives in the workshops, the hearings, the written comments, etc. And so it falls to those involved in the Euler process, in this case, Borough President Brewer, to vote no in order to encourage the city to come back to us with a better plan, with less density, more benefits, less politics, and more planning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Scarlett, Miguel Pena, Maria Dominguez, Chris Nickel, Brittany Buckley, any of these folks here? It says Mark Ho. Oh, you're here, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Chris Nickel, and I'm a resident of Inwood. I want to thank Borough President for staying with us all this time. We know that we're a talkative bunch. The things that I want to address tonight are not as popular as some of the other issues, but I think they're very crucial. The first is infrastructure. As our dearly departed friend Obi Bing constantly reminded us at CB12, we have some of the oldest subsurface infrastructure in the entire country in this neighborhood. And I think it's just a simple point to make that no rezoning, no redevelopment should be allowed to take place before these infrastructural deficiencies are addressed. And that can be as dangerous as paper-covered wires that could cause an entire citywide brownout this coming summer if it's a hot one. So I think we all have reason to be concerned. And the second related issue that I want to talk about is environmental racism. This plan, the EDC plan, says it's about affordable housing. If we take it at its word and think about the increased density that it's calling for along the Harlem River, well, that's a floodplain. And that's a 100-year floodplain now, but in 15 years, at the end of their reasonable worst-case development scenario, that very well could be a 5, 10, 15-year floodplain. And to put all those people needing affordable housing in those units that are the most vulnerable to these kinds of natural disasters is not just irresponsible, it's racism. And so we need to address these issues now before it's too late. So I ask that you vote no on the EDC plan as it currently stands and support Uptown United. Thank you.
Thank you. So Mark H. Terso Pena, Gwendolyn Shumbron, and Guillermo Rodriguez. Anybody? Any of those here? Oh, come on. Okay. And then Barbara Di Pietro and Anna Melides. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Green, Mrs. Gail Brewer, I know you for a long, long time. I try to always we work with you because I feel that you have progressive a vision for a municipal in New York City. But when you bring it to us, to this community, this plan, I asked to me, what happened? I don't know. I want to know if you lose your vision about progress, about justice and respect for this community.
I'm listening.
Because, you know, it's confusing for me. I want to listen to you say tonight. If you have confusing, yes or no? This is my question. Secondly, let me ask something.
Can't do that.
When you come into Borough President, you were elected 4 years ago. I spoke to you in City Hall about to person in duty, Mr. Bonilla. What I said, you and Mr. Bonilla, I feel doing well for this community. Washington Heights, West Side, Inwood, and West Side to all open north to. I'm sorry, confusing for me. Washington Heights, Inwood, and Hamilton Place. Now, I saw the people in Inwood fight for the home, for this community. This community is important for us. You know how long we live over here? 40 years. I have a 4-boy. All my sons running in all the places over here. Everybody know my family.
But thank you.
No, excuse me. I want you to listen for me for 30 seconds. It's very important for me because
ahead.
I believe to you.
Go ahead.
You
30 seconds.
If you broke my relationship with you about the decision you have to take it tonight in front of people, believe me, never, forever, I work with you. You got commitment for this community. You gotta say to the community, I know both for rezoning plan. That's what the people want to listen tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Laura Penaranda. Laura? Is Laura here? Penaranda? No? Mary O'Shaughnessy? Fitzroy Christian? Gabriella Beal? Allegra? Go ahead, sir, if you're next. Allegra Legrand?
Hi, Gail. This is
Go ahead.
Emily Leticia called me before. Nice to see you again. Good evening, all. My name is Ana Rosario, and I'm an Inwood resident and a member of Northern Manhattan Is Not For Sale. I want you to vote no on the Inwood NYC plan and adopt the Uptown United platform for the following reasons. Affordability being one of the primary issues. This plan makes no promise for deeply affordable units, but introduces a high amount of luxury or market rate units, which we take no, if we take no, Williamsburg's rezoning has put those both with preferential rent and rent stabilization at risk. Let's be clear, we know that there is no housing crisis. Housing is available. However, it is the issue of affordability that makes it inaccessible. What we need is deeply affordable housing, and this plan does not offer this. Instead, it would do the opposite. It would exacerbate gentrification and expose the community to a host of public health issues that require further studies before a decision is made. As a clinical social worker serving folks in gentrifying neighborhoods, I have observed an increased trauma related to lack of affordable housing, displacement of long-time residents and immigrants, mental health episodes, including depression, anxiety, and PTSD, as a disruption of the cultural ties people once had to their community. The comfort of having affordable housing creates stability and a sense of comfort that many people in these neighborhoods are being denied. As a result, we see the cycles of violence and increased crime becoming more prevalent because people are experiencing feelings of hopelessness with no end in sight. While there's no formal study that attests to this, my decade of experience has allowed me the opportunity to observe this firsthand. In my organizing, I find that newcomers are not always aware of cultural norms of the community and do not always represent a willingness to learn. People need to feel at home in their community, as for many, this is the first experience. First appearance in this melting pot we call America. This is what the Dominican residents have come to see in Inwood as a hub of Dominican immigrants such as myself, who have come to see Inwood as a home away from home. Imagine living in a community that represents your culture and speaks to your experience, to then have it taken away, and once again, you're a stranger in a foreign land, depressed, anxious, isolated. Once again, you're colonized.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. My name is Fitzroy Christian. I'm not from Manhattan. I'm from the Bronx, just over the river. I'm a member of CASA, and I'm on the steering committee of the Bronx Coalition for Community Vision. I came here in solidarity with you, my friends, my family. I am an immigrant, just like most of you who are in this community. We did not win much of what we wanted in the Bronx, but what we have come to realize is that the fight is just beginning. But we want to fight with you, because if we don't fight on a citywide basis, we are all going to be gone from our neighborhoods 5 years from now. I would not be able to come across the bridge and see my friends here in northern Manhattan. You would not be able to come over the waters and see us in the Southwest Bronx, where we party and we boogie and we dance and we have fun and we play dominoes together. That is going to be gone if we don't fight together. It is not Manhattan, it is not the Southwest Bronx, it has to be a citywide fight. And what we have to do is to start to change the narrative. It is not upzoning, it is ethnic cleansing. If we look at what happened in Williamsburg, Greenpoint. Before the upzoning, it was almost a San Juan. There's so many Puerto Ricans living there. You wouldn't know the difference between there and Puerto Rico in San Juan. Today, we have less than 15% of the population that is Latino. They are gone, it is almost completely white. The same thing is happening all over. What I am here to say is that the Coalition for Community Vision is prepared to fight with you. I hear you, sir. We are going to be fighting with you. We are going to be fighting in the Bronx. One day, we are going to come together in one massive force, and we are going to win this battle, this war, and we are going to stay here.
We have other speakers we want to hear from.
You gave other people
Thank you.
We need time to speak. As
Thank you very much.
But thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead over there.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You're next.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Allegra Legrand. I'm here as a 15-year resident of Inwood. I'm also a climate scientist. I moved to New York to be a climate scientist. I'm a lead author on the National Climate Assessment. And my employer is not important, but I work at NASA. I'm an adjunct at Columbia. When you're talking about climate change, I'm one of the people that you would come to talk to for an expert opinion. I gave my most expert opinion in the scoping document that was used to design the DEIS. And one of my concerns that I had at the hearing for that back in September was that somebody who was qualified to do so would look over the document. And that didn't happen. And when that didn't happen, it resulted in things like them saying that even though schools are 105% capacity today, don't worry, 10% of the students are going to just disappear. Don't worry, the schools aren't going to be overcrowded even though you're adding on a third to your population. What happened was I said, how are you going to look at the air quality? Air quality is impacted by climate change. There's a certain method for looking at air quality, and the techniques that they use are dated, and they exclude some of the most important climate parameters in determining what controls air quality. How fast is the wind speed? What are the wind speed gusts like? I'm disappointed in the way that they consider flooding, because the flooding that's considered, everyone still goes back to the FEMA maps, and everyone in the field knows that these are designed to assess your climate risk, your flood risk today, this year, not in 30 years' time, this year. In order to get your risk for 30 years' time, you have to come to a climate projection. And the statistic that Chris was mentioning earlier is this. What was the 200-year storm in the early 19th century, based on climate change projections, will become the 5-year storm by 2045.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate it.
On this,
Go
on this
ahead.
side, go ahead.
After this is Amy Bertel and Micaiah Sherman. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Wanda Fabian. I lived in 530 Isham since I was 3 years old. I'm 49 years old now. I raised a 30-year-old daughter. My son has a scholarship to Mount St. Michael's for his academics, and I have a granddaughter that's 9 years old. I met my landlord when my mother passed away in my apartment that we lived in for 45 years, and I told him that I've been living here since I was 3. He shook my hand, he met my family, and you know what he did? He took a whole year before he took my rent. He wanted to evict us. We had to go to court, miss days from work, which I do not get back. The court system is a joke. If you go to the court system, the majority, 100% of the people that are there is because the landlords are not doing their jobs. Can you not see this? So what does it take? People to be depressed, to kill themselves, to suicidal, do things that they're not supposed to do. Why? Because all you think about is money. And at the ending of the day, it's not going nowhere. You're just ruining people's lives, making people miserable for nothing, when we could all come together and make New York powerful as a team, as a whole, as a family. Because at the ending of the day, if one falls on the top, it's going to come down. And if it falls in the bottom, it's going to go up.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Wanda Fabian, Bill Murawski, Maria Rodriguez. This is the last of it. Randy Marcus, Nancy Rakowski, Wendy Feinstein, Edwin Rosario Mazzara, Marlene Sanchez. Can I make one? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, then come on up. I've been calling everybody. Come on up, you can speak right now. Okay, okay.
If we called you, you should have gone to the mic. But make that announcement. Okay, just a quick announcement. A woman left her phone in the bathroom. It is at our video booth in the lobby. Aldrin, can you say it in Spanish?
Hello.
Excuse me, dejaron un teléfono en el baño de las mujeres, me imagino, y está atrás a donde están haciendo video.
Go ahead, I called everybody. Go right ahead. Yep, yes, you.
Okay.
Go.
My name is Denise Rickles, and I am a resident of Inwood, Washington Heights for many years. And so many smart things have been said today in opposition to the proposed plan. I really can't add much. But what I do want to say is something directed to you, Gail, because we had some discussion about the library, and you have said to the community that you have a lot of experience with renovation of a library. So you're referring to the St. Agnes Library that was...
Others also, many others.
Well, that was the big one that you're referring to, but in each and every one of these libraries, what happened was, especially in St. Agnes, that took 2.5 years only, and close to $8 million, most of which the city council paid for, and what it couldn't pay for, they got private donations like from the Zabars. So that was very clever. They did not have to sell air rights. They didn't have to have pocket rezoning for that library because there was no intention to do anything to it. So, but what you did was, for people who use that library, they had a choice, either going to Bloomingdale Library at 100th Street or going to the Riverside Library at 66th Street. You have no other option for us because we will have to go to either the Bronx or we have to go to the Washington Heights Library, and it will be a fair zone because kids can't walk that distance. They will not be getting the kinds of services and programs they are accustomed to. It's just a sham. Then the solution doesn't work for us. But I do have a recommendation. Number one, we keep the Inwood Library as is. And we do need additional library space and annex. And why not ask Zabars? Why not ask a Target? No, I'm not going to.
Time is up.
You are asking us to build housing. No, the city has not addressed housing in decades.
I got it, but your time...
library as a reason
There's still
for
other people behind you we
doing
have to
that
listen to
library
as well.
Okay, I got time over here.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Gail. My name is Gwendolyn R. Shambron. I'm a member of Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale and Save Inwood Library. I've lived in Inwood for 3.5 years. Inwood is home to a friendly, diverse, welcoming, and supportive community. However, the real estate market is increasingly hostile towards working and middle-class residents, let alone the poor. Transportation is increasingly unreliable with delays, breakdowns, and overcrowding. Our infrastructure is precarious. High commercial rents have driven away neighborhood amenities. Our beloved award-winning library, which also serves as a much-needed community resource, is being threatened. Upzoning this neighborhood would fast-track gentrification and drive out working and middle-class residents and small business owners. Upzoning Inwood would erase much of its history by destroying the unity of design of the mostly 6 to 7 warm brick buildings. Cold glass towers reflect the selfish narcissism of our age and would cast shadows where green roofs and solar panels would be much more welcome and environmentally sound. Please, do not allow the avaricious real estate industry to remake our Inwood home into its own image. Please vote no on the Inwood rezoning. Please pass the Uptown United Plan instead.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Go ahead over here. Are you speaking?
On this side? Go ahead. Go ahead, yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Wendy Feinstein. I'm going to read on behalf of my husband, John Perard. My name is John Perard, and I'm a member of Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale. I've lived in this neighborhood since 1981. The last time we met in this forum was to testify why the neighborhood needs to keep its library more than it needs to demolish it for a handful of so-called affordable apartments. Now our library remains in peril because its fate is now linked to some of our small businesses, which would also be demolished to make way for luxury housing and a small number of affordable apartments. My points are, save our library and separate its fate from the rezoning, preserve our rent-stabilized laws and strengthen them, adopt Uptown United's platform. I also have testimony from Adele Altman, who also couldn't be here, and I'll just read you the end to use my 2 minutes. She said, it is the land market that drives up the cost of housing. Even talk of upzoning increases the future value of land. A full year before the EDC called out its Inwood, New York City plan, speculators were buying up rent-stabilized buildings in Washington Heights and Inwood as investments to be flipped as the market heated up. Let me give you an example of this. Since at least 2014, Michael A. Ray of Heritage Realty has been buying and selling properties in northern Manhattan. Last April, he sold a rent-stabilized building at 720 West 180th Street for $32 million, less than 3 years after purchasing it for $16 million. $32 million is more than 27 times its most recently reported annual gross income of $1.7 million. The new owner paid this astronomical price in anticipation of what the rent will be after its regulated tenants have been dislodged. In 2016, A-Ray bought 2 buildings on Wadsworth, one at 221 for $13.5 million and the other at 130 for $12 million. Since 2014, the number of rent-regulated units in the second building declined from 24 to 21.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
On this side?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, Gilbert. My name is Laura Peñaranda. I'm a member of Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale. I work with Met Council on Housing. I guess first of all, I wanted to say that Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale has been doing organizing around small businesses, since that's one of the constituencies that you most seem to care about. And we're going to be sending in video testimonies
Thank you.
of small business owners who couldn't make it here today because, well, you know, they're breaking even basically at this point and can't afford the time, or can't make the time to be here. I guess I just wanted to say, you know, anecdotally that during my more or less year working with Met Council and Northern Manhattan is Not for Sale, one of the things that has stuck out to me the most is the way that, you know, these issues overlap. When we say that low-income tenants in Inwood are struggling, I guess to paint a picture, so I work in the Uptown Tenants' Rights Clinic, and it's really remarkable the way that this issue, this housing crisis, overlaps with mental health. It's been several tenants now that have said that at night, you know, they think about the GW Bridge, wanting to jump off it because they can't stand really the idea of being homeless. I can't tell you the number of women as well that call our Met Council hotline and say that they're staying because they're staying in an abusive relationship because they can't afford to leave their homes. They would have nowhere to go. So again, it's several, and seniors, you know, so it's a mental health issue, it's a gender issue, it's a senior issue, and it's these most vulnerable demographic groups basically facing homelessness. This housing crisis is a sinking ship, and the Inwood rezoning is less than a Band-Aid on it. It's basically like darts onto it, you know, it's making this housing crisis sink much, much sooner than it has to.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please consider the Uptown United platform.
Thank you.
You can go ahead.
Hi, I'm an Inwood resident who lives on a block that no longer has a laundromat, no longer has a coffee shop, no longer has a deli, no longer has a bakery, no longer has a fish store, and I don't think I need to say very much about the fact that this evening the will of the people has been made very clear. So I don't need to repeat it. And that is what this is about. It's about the democratic process. We are a crucible for the fact that in this nation, most people who live in it, it has been proven numerically, mathematically, cannot afford to live here. Let it begin here and go out from here, that we must stop the choking to death of the American middle class that is going to destroy this nation in short order. And it starts here, and it starts with us. And the answer to this, as in the words of our recently arrived rock goddess Emma Gonzalez, this BS trying to schmooze us into believing that there is anything in this for the average middle-class American, because nothing in any mayor's plan for affordable housing encompasses a concept that actually equals anything affordable. So the answer from us, we the people, is no. Of, by, and for the people, no more. It stops here.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Malika Sherman. I'm a longtime Inwood resident. I love Inwood, and I implore you to vote no against the proposed Inwood rezoning plan. I could speak on various traits that make Inwood so distinctive, wonderful, and unique, which would be harmed by the proposed rezoning. Our geography, our parks, our social diversity. If any neighborhood in Manhattan could be considered a hamlet, it would be Inwood. However, many of my neighbors have already so eloquently addressed that issue, so I'm going to instead address the economic and social harms that this proposed rezoning poses to my community. A plan which purports to provide affordable housing to some, yet results in the displacement of scores of low and middle income people is not a good plan. It's instead a roadmap to changing the diverse face of our Inwood into one that is homogeneous, economically, racially, and ethnically. In the course of my professional life, I've had an opportunity to work with low-income residents. I've had an opportunity to work with tenants. I've had an opportunity to pore over various government contracts between developers and the government and developers, as well as regulatory agreements, many of which were designed to provide affordable housing. I've seen many instances professionally in which these affordable housing proposals were packaged very nicely, often with bows on top, only to have significant fallout afterwards for the tenants. And that is always the party in these scenarios who is the losing party in the equation, who never had the equal or commensurate bargaining power to begin with. I implore you to reconsider this proposal, because I believe that it truly destroyed the distinctive character, nature, affordable housing in our neighborhood. We simply do not have enough enforcement of the rent regulation laws that are being done to protect our vulnerable housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody who stayed this long.
I would like to thank everybody who stayed so long, too. Thank you.
Including you, Gail. We really appreciate it.
I'm here.
I'd just like to reiterate a couple of points that other people have already
Your
made
name?
this evening. My name is Amy Vertel, and I'm an Inwood resident and a member of Northern Manhattan is Not For Sale. I guess I'd just like to say that a plan for supposedly affordable housing that includes 70 to 80% market rate development is an insult to the people who live in Inwood. We need something better. We need to preserve existing affordable housing. We need to protect tenants who have preferential rents, who are at risk of losing their housing any day. And we need to make sure that any new development is truly 100% affordable for the people who already live here. I'd also like to mention that the area where we're meeting right now is not included in this plan. The plan needs to extend south of Dyckman because there is no border. Inwood does not end at Dyckman. So I guess really what I'm asking is for you to vote no on the EDC's plan. Give us time to consider a better rezoning plan. And I would also ask you to support the Uptown United platform, which truly comes from the Inwood community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Morawski. I'm the producer of an award-winning public access show titled DeWitt Clinton Express, a neighborhood news program. The publisher of DeWitt Clinton Express, a neighborhood newspaper, that is now in its 5th year, and the founder of the Inwood Clinton Park Restoration Foundation, whose neighborhood renovation plan titled the Phoenix Bird Rising Project has been on hold because of Manhattan Community Board 4, your board, but I'm not here for that.
I know the park.
I know you do. My testimony tonight is a short one. I want you, Gail Brewer, as the Borough President of Manhattan, immediately cancel the ULURP process regarding the zoning of the Inwood neighborhood. Although I live in Hell's Kitchen, I also have roots in Inwood that go back to the days of Gary Owen Pub and the Battle of the Bands, in which were held at the school auditorium at the Church of the Good Shepherd during the late 60s and early 70s. Now, it's often said that leopards don't change their spots. For all of you who are unaware, Gabe Brewer served as a New York City Council member, serving the 6th City Council District in Manhattan from January 1st, 2002 to December 31st, 2013. Her district covered the west side of Manhattan from 55th Street to 96th Street. When Gail Brewer served as a city council member, for some time she also served on the New York City Council's Park and Recreation Committee. During the same time, her very close first cousin, Adrian Banapy, was serving as Manhattan Borough Parks and Recreation Commissioner. Whether or not Gail Brewer is beneficial to her first cousin, Adrian Banapy, as a city council member, intentionally or not, or who helped him to become New York City Parks and Recreation Commissioner, is not important at this time. What is important at this time is to be aware that the New York City Parks and Recreation Department granted certain friends, supporters, and company the right to operate concessions.
Okay, time is up,
Thank
sir.
you. Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, you got a good fight ahead for you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm here to speak for the older residents of Inwood. Actually, I'm here to speak for all of you, because if you're lucky, you'll be an older resident. And if you're lucky, you can live in a neighborhood like Inwood, which is really good for older residents. We can walk to stores, to the park, to the library, and we're treated very well by our neighbors. Many elders stay in their apartments, the same apartment, for 30, 40 years. Sometimes they don't have gas. That happened in my place. Sometimes they don't have heat. And you ask them, why don't they move? And they say, because I have a rent-stabilized apartment, maybe I even have scree if I'm really brave, and I have a home. I know at least I have a home. But now, we're in danger of being evicted and not having a home. So elders get to downsize. Some elders will get to downsize to a shopping cart. They can apply for senior housing, but as Gail well knows, the waiting list is 200,000 people. We cannot live that long. So I went to East Harlem to get my car fixed, and I saw block after block of condemned buildings. I turned a corner, and I saw a bulldoze block, just totally bulldozed, except for one building on the corner. I went around the corner, and I read the sign on the door, and it said, "It is dangerous to live here. Warning, if this rezoning comes in, it will be dangerous for elders in this community to live here."
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, this woman, fine, I don't. Go ahead.
Hola, mi nombre es Marlene Sánchez y yo soy la presidenta del Consejo de Presidentes del Distrito 6. Pero en el día de hoy no vengo representando al Distrito 6 ni al Consejo de Presidentes, represento a un miembro de la comunidad. Si nosotros no podemos ser parte de la solución, no debemos de ser parte del problema. Los cambios de nuestra comunidad nos afectan directamente a las minorías y a las personas de bajos recursos. Y estas personas no están haciendo acto de presencia ni están formando parte de las decisiones que se están tomando, muchas por miedos y otras porque no tienen toda la información. Mucha gente aún ni se entera de los planes que hay para su comunidad. Se vienen a enterar cuando ya los proyectos están en marcha. Otras personas hacen eco de lo que dice un grupo grande y eso aceptan como la verdad. Hay muchos cambios que nuestra comunidad necesita y uno de ellos es vivienda asequible, espacio comunitario, servicios para personas de bajos recursos y en realidad este proyecto tiene el potencial. Hay algunas quejas que son válidas. Una de ellas es que nuestra comunidad necesita escuelas nuevas. Sí, nuestra comunidad necesita escuelas nuevas, pero la persona encargada y el departamento encargado de hacer estas escuelas, de crear y construir estas escuelas, es el Departamento de Educación y es el Departamento de Construcción de Escuelas. Y muchas veces nosotros le ponemos el blame y culpamos a las personas equivocadas. Y yo creo que también nos debiéramos unir como comunidad y culpar a las personas que realmente son los responsables de hacer las cosas. Porque cuando hay un proyecto tan grande, le tiramos a la persona más cercana o a la persona que quizás es el que está escuchando, cuando a veces es otra persona que es la responsable de hacer estos cambios. Yo creo que no debemos decir que no simplemente por decir que no. Hay que proveer razones, proveer opciones y proveer soluciones. El cambio no es malo por el simple hecho de ser un cambio. Necesitamos personas que den una razón legítima por la cual están en contra de este proyecto. Es un proyecto que no es perfecto.
Gracias, ya el tiempo. Gracias. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Natalie?
Okay, Ms. Mariela Sanchez, she is a president of the Parents Council District 6. The changes to the community affect everybody, but many parts of this community have not participated in this process. They either did not know, they learned about it late once the project was already in progress, and very often they accept the messages of larger organizations or groups as truth. I believe that many parts of this plan have potential, but there is some negative reaction. Sometimes we lash out at what is people who are closest to us, even though they are not the ones responsible for the decisions. It's important not to say no just to say no, that we need to provide solutions and work together. Okay, and I'm sorry I missed some of that because of feedback.
I want to thank everyone who stayed so long. Give yourself a big round of applause. And I want to thank the amazing staff of the Manhattan Borough President and the people who kept the linguistics going in terms of those who needed that support. And I want to say we listened very carefully. We are known to listen carefully. We will be back continuing to get feedback. Thank you very much. Inwood is a very special place. I'm aware of it, and I thank you for your time tonight. Good night.